In this video, I'm going to show you guys how you can transform an old deck like this that's in really rough shape and make it look brand new again, just like this. It's easy to do and budget friendly. I'm going to show you guys all the steps and give you different options in case you don't have access to all the tools, so follow along. Here's a look at some of the different tools that we'll be using for this deck job. I'm going to briefly touch on these, show you some different examples, and then throughout the video as we use a product, I'll do a more thorough explanation. So I've got two different pressure washers, which I'll explain later. I have an attachment that goes on a pressure washer. That's really handy but not needed. You will need a leaf blower. If you don't have a leaf blower, you're going to need a broom. And then here I have some different deck cleaners. This is optional. I'll explain this later. When using these, they typically recommend a sprayer. And then after we've pressure washed this deck, I'm going to seal it. I have two different sealers, two different price points. I'll explain more about both later on in the video as well. The first thing that we're going to do is clean off this deck. Get rid of as much dirt as you can. I'm going to be using a leaf blower to do the majority of this. If you don't have a leaf blower, you can use a broom and simply broom everything away, but a leaf blower is much quicker. This part is really simple. You're just removing the majority of the dirt and objects from the deck. All right, everybody, I'm going to bring the camera down and show you guys what these deck boards look like. These deck boards here are about 20 years old. I last pressure washed them about 2 years ago. So let me show you what they look like. So as you can see, they're quite old. A lot of dirt and grime. They're almost black. This camera actually makes them look better than what they do in person. Now that we finished leaf blowing and sweeping off the deck, we have it nice and clean. The next step is optional, and that would be using some type of cleaning product on the wood. I'll show you guys how to use this on a different area. I'm not going to use it on this main deck here, but the process is the same. Now, if your deck is really dirty like this and you don't want to pressure wash it, or you don't have a pressure washer, here's something you can do. I mentioned you can buy all kinds of different patio cleaners. So this is one from the local hardware store. It costs around $20 for a gallon. And I also have some blue Dawn dish soap. I'm going to show you what each of these do. I'm going to scrub it onto half of the deck and then wash it off, and we'll see the difference. From my experience, dish soap works just as good as any product out there. When applying these deck and patio cleaners, you can either spray them on using a normal weed sprayer, or you can fill up a bucket with water and then add the cleaning product to the water and scrub it on. The first thing you want to do is wet the wood, so just spray it down with a hose and then you can scrub it on. This side here is the Dawn dish soap, and then this other side is the store-bought deck and patio cleaner. Let it sit for about 10 minutes and then spray it off. There really is no difference between the Dawn dish soap and the deck and patio cleaner. It really makes a minimal difference. It does remove some of the grime. If you compare here to the sides that I didn't put any on, there's definitely less grime. But to spend $20 versus $4, I would always go the way of the Dawn dish soap. So I do recommend a pressure wash, but if you don't have access to a pressure washer, you can use this. It'll remove that grime so that you can seal it and not have to worry about sealing over grime and dirt. Next up, we're going to be pressure washing. So I have two different pressure washers here, and I'm going to demonstrate the differences. This one here is an electric pressure washer that you plug into a normal receptacle, and as you can see, it's 1800 psi. So typically electric pressure washers are less than 2000 psi, and then over here I have a gas-powered pressure washer that's 2700 psi. Gas pressure washers can go up to about 5000 psi. I typically recommend something around the 3000 psi mark, as I find it works great for removing grime from wood without damaging the wood. Next, pressure washers have different tips. I generally recommend using a 15-degree tip, and they're typically yellow. So for this video, I'm going to be using this for the comparison on these two pressure washers. And then later on, I will show you guys this surface cleaner that I have. It's a fancy tool that you can purchase if you want. I'll show you how it works. Here's a look at this electric 1800 psi pressure washer. As you can see, it's removing a little bit of the dirt and grime from the deck boards,
but it's not anything significant. And then the gas pressure washer, as you can see, it's removing a lot more and it's doing it much quicker. Here's this surface cleaner, which is this round disc on wheels. And as you can see, it removes the most grime the quickest and easiest.
Okay, so as you can see, this big section was from the surface cleaner. So that thing works really quickly. When we look at the gas pressure washer, it removed a lot of that grime, again, very quickly. And then over here, the electric pressure washer, it was really struggling. I had to bring that wand in really close. I really like this tool. It's called a surface cleaner. It attaches onto the pressure washer and this spins, pushing out a lot of water. It's on wheels. The other nice thing is it keeps all that dirt down. So you can buy these from almost any hardware store, Home Depot, and they're universal. They plug right onto the pressure washer wand, just like this. So I'm gonna be using this surface cleaner to go over the deck quickly, and then once we're done using that, I'll go over it with the wand.
The reason I like to start with the surface cleaner is because it gets rid of the bulk of the dirt and grime from the wood really quick and easily. I can simply just wheel this over top of the deck boards, and as you can see, it removes that grime really easily. The other nice thing is it keeps all the water downward so it's not splashing up. After I do the deck with the surface cleaner, I switch over to the normal pressure washer wand and I just go over the deck boards one last time. This is going to get them a little bit cleaner than the surface cleaner does by itself. And yes, you can use this on railings. It's safe to pressure wash wood. Just make sure that you have the pressure set so that you're not tearing apart the wood.
Just like that, this whole deck has been pressure washed. I got rid of all that grime. I'll show you guys what it's looking like. So as you can see, just from pressure washing, it is so much cleaner, so much brighter. I got rid of all that dirt and grime. So now we're gonna let this dry. And then once it's dry, we can seal it up if that's what you want to do. Okay guys, here's a look at this deck now that it's dry after pressure washing it. So as you can see, we got rid of all that grime that was on this wood, and this wood actually looks almost brand new again. So from here, you can leave the wood like this and it will last a year or two, and then you can pressure wash it again. Or if you want to really seal it up so that it stays nice and clean, I recommend putting a sealer on it. So I'm going to be using this sealer, which I'll explain more now. Now, when it comes to putting a sealer on this, these are two of the products I recommend. So they're two different price points. Here I have Sherwin-Williams Super Deck in the modified oil. I do like this product. It costs around $50 to $60 a gallon here in Canada. And then this is the more expensive product. This is Q-Tech. It's also an oil-based stain. And this is around $120 to $130 a gallon. So it's double the price. This is going to give you a better quality finish that lasts longer. But if you're looking for a cheaper option, the Super Deck works really well as well. For this deck, I'm going to be using the Q-Tech stain. I do highly recommend it. This is a better product that's going to last a lot longer. The way it works, this stain comes transparent, clear. So you can apply it and we'll just make the wood look a little bit darker, or you can get different tints. They have 15 to 20 different tints. I'm going to be using a brown tint called Walnut. So you add one of these full tints per gallon, mix it up, and then it's recommended to brush it on. I've got this special brush. This is a wider brush, which makes the application quicker. If you don't want to buy one of these, you can do it with a normal brush. It's just a little bit slower.
This is how I like to mix up the stain. I've got the tint that I'm going to add slowly into the stain, and I've got a mixing paddle on a drill that I'm going to use to mix it up as I put it in.
Okay, so as you can see, I've mixed that up, and I always like to do a little test area. So we've got a nice brown. I'm happy with that. I only put 3/4 of this tint in. If you want it to be lighter, put less in. If you want it darker, put more in. But I do find it dries lighter than what it looks. So this will actually look a little bit lighter.
For the sake of saving time, I sped this section of the video up, but I'm simply just brushing the stain onto the wood. You want to avoid using a roller as it can get air into the finish, which can cause bubbles and give you a really poor finish. I also like to cut around the perimeter of the deck. This is going to help to avoid getting any of the stain in areas that you don't want it. Since it's an oil-based stain, it's almost impossible to remove from other areas.
All right guys, and that's a wrap. We've got this deck all sealed up. It looks 100 times better, and this is a really cheap, easy way to make an old deck look brand new again. So if you remember, we went from that old, really grimy deck, we pressure washed it, and then applied this sealer, and it looks almost brand new again. Thank you guys for watching. If you have any questions, leave them down below in the comment section.